Hey, what's up guys? I'm gonna make a little bit different of a video today. Last couple weeks I've made just like a watch list with charts. So this week I've been watching some videos on learning how to trade the strat or strategy candles, which you could see are these numbers. It's not as common of a trading type as you see on FinTwit as most of the technical analysis that you'll see, but I found it pretty interesting, so kind of wanted to start learning about it. So this isn't going to really be like a lesson since I'm still learning, but the basics of the strat candles are there's three numbers, ones, twos, and threes. A 1 is a candle that is inside the previous candle, so the entire range is inside the previous range. A 2 means either the previous candle high or low was broken, so you'll hear people refer to them as a 2 up where the high was broken, or a 2 down where the low was broken. And then there's 3s, which means the high and the low of the previous candle was broken. So with the strat, there are different combinations of candles that people use to kind of categorize the price action that they're seeing and make trades based off of that. So this week I have 5 charts that I'm going to be using to kind of test out a scanner that I made, and I'll make a follow-up video once these play out to see how accurate the entries and how successful any of the plays were. So the scanner I'm using, we could show it with the first chart, is based on the weekly time frame. So if we go here, the scanner I'm using is checking to see if there are lower highs and lower lows for at least 2 weeks in a row, and then the most recent week, a lower low but a close above the halfway point of the previous candle. So my goal with this scanner is to try to find areas where we can play a reversal to the upside. So that's why I'm looking for these lower highs from the previous candles, because these will act as targets if you go long. And the goal will be to go long over the most recent candle's high and use these as targets. So the first one I have is right here. It's CPNG. We'll look at the monthly, weekly, and daily. So if we look at the monthly, I have the monthly levels as the green ones. So we broke last month's low, and it's starting to come back up now. We have these 3 months of 2 downs in a row. And if we go to the weekly, we see it's kind of the same thing recently, where we have these 4 weeks in a row of 2 downs. So with this ticker, I'm going to go long over 28.45, and I'm going to use each week's high as my target. So I'll be taking some off as long as it successfully breaks out. I'll be taking some off at 29.11, 29.48, 30.88, and then 32.88. So this is actually the previous month's high. So if we can break that, I'll let some run, because that would actually trigger a reversal here on the monthly chart. Because if we break 32.88, that's a 2 down and then a 2 up reversal where we'd have these upside targets. That would be a little farther out, so it needs to get through these weekly pivots first. If we check out the daily, the red is what I mentioned as the trigger, and then these are the weekly targets. So that's the first one that I found that I liked from the scanner. We could also see the daily. It's making kind of this, looks like it found its bottom, has the higher volume here on the last red candle. So that's a good sign. The next one I'm looking at is BILI. If we look at the monthly, we have the previous month we're about 25% below that high, so there's a lot of room there. And we took out 2 months ago this pivot right here. We slightly made a lower low. So if we go to the weekly, we have 72.15 as the breakout trigger, with about 75, 82, and 93.50 as the targets. It's this one, there's a very large gap between the previous month's high and the next month's high. So with this one, if it breaks out and can get through these pivots, this will be my final target, because it would take a lot to get to the month's high all the way at 125. If we go to the daily, it gapped up last week after this one, and now we're sitting just below the trigger. The next one is Teledoc Tdoc. So if we look at the monthly here, we took out all these lows with the previous month, and now this month has made a lower low. We have these monthly targets going all the way back up to 155. On the weekly, we could see our trigger for the trade is 132.93, so basically 133, and then we have 135, 141, 143.50, all the blue levels. So with this one, I like that we took out this lower low, and it's now looking like it's going to reverse as long as it can make it over this trigger. And if it breaks out, I'll scale out into these levels. And what I like is that the monthly is a similar setup where it has levels going all the way up to 175. So this one could definitely run if it can get through some of these earlier pivots on the weekly. The daily looks similar to what we just looked at with BILI. Had a gap up last week and is now sitting just below the high. The next one is kind of a cult ticker. We have Fubo. So this one, I don't like it as much as the previous. I would have liked to see a little, like if this got taken out, that would have been great to take out these stops and then reverse, but it doesn't look like it's going to make it all the way down there. So it has 2 months right here that are down. We have 31 and 33.50 about. If we check out the weekly, the breakout trigger would be 25.68 with the blue levels going up, and then this is the previous month's high, which over that the next target would be the high from 2 months ago. So I do like the look of these weekly candles where it's kind of like a tweezer bottom there. It's this one slightly made a lower low, but finding support there. And the daily, pretty much the same as the others, just sitting just below the trigger. The last one I have is MAT. So the monthly here, we have 2 months in a row of down with a lot of room. This month's high is about 22, and then this one's just below 23. And you could see how it's not a perfect trend line, but the price is kind of broadening here, which broadening formations are talked about a lot trading with the strat candles. So what they look for is to break below a previous pivot. So what you would think is support, break just below and then reverse. So this is a setup I like, where it is below these pivots, and now it looks like it's starting to reverse. If we check out the weekly, we have 1940 as the trigger, and then we have all these weekly levels in a row leading up to the monthly level above. This daily I don't love for an entry right now, because we had this red 3, so I think it might fill this gap below or take a little extra to break through this trigger. But with all the triggers, what I'll be looking for is a close on the daily above the level, and then I'll let it run and scale out into the pivots above. I'll be keeping my stops. If it breaks the trigger, I'll have my stop probably 2 to 3% below. And once it starts to move and breaks the first pivot, I will move my stop to break even, and I'll move it up as it goes along. So I'm still new to this trading style. Been learning about it a lot. It seems really interesting. This is, like I said, basically a test with my scanner. I'm going to see how it plays out with these plays, see if I can tweak it to make it better, and make a follow-up to see how it worked. So, thanks for watching.